is the border czar? Vice President Harris. Tomorrow will mark the 6th month since she was appointed to this role. And in that time, the situation at the border has only continued to deteriorate.
A lot of heated criticism for Vice President Kamala Harris for her handling of the border crisis, especially since President Biden made her his border czar exactly 6 months ago today. The VP was supposed to talk about all of it in a sit-down interview on The View. But moments ago, COVID test results came back. And Ana Navarro and Sunny Hostin, hosts on that show, both tested positive. They were taken off the set, we understand, as the show was happening. Joy Behar, Sarah Haynes are going to sit there on set, but Kamala Harris will not be there, obviously, since they've got COVID on that set. I don't know how the other host tested. We're told that she will now be in another location somewhere in the building, and they'll do it by remote. The Vice President. Power panel now. David Avella, GOPAC Chairman, Leslie Marshall, Fox News contributor. Welcome both. Before we go on, anytime somebody tests positive, of course, we always wish them well. It is the coronavirus, and it kills. And we hope everybody on that set is going to be okay. David, your top-line thoughts on Kamala Harris at the center as Vice President and border czar. 6-month anniversary of sorts today of her going into that job.
It's a coin toss between Vice President Harris and Jen Psaki on who has a bigger struggle with defending the policies and the actions of Joe Biden. Let's keep in mind the vice president's job is to go out and promote what the president is doing. And given the fact that the president knew coming into his administration he was going to put a "come on in" sign at the border. And instead of being prepared with that by constructing more processing centers, getting more agents down for processing and making sure only those who we want coming into the country actually get into the country. Americans want to know who's coming in from the border. Joe Biden didn't do any of that. And now, gosh, that only leaves them going to favorable media outlets, as opposed to, you've covered the border quite well, Harris. The vice president could come on your show. You could ask her a simple question.
Oh, we asked.
Do you agree with the president that the border agents are the problem down there? That it is their work trying to keep those we don't want in the country from coming in. The president says it's the border agents' problem, and they're going to get reprimanded.
Well, and I think I would layer that, David and Leslie, with a new question that's come about just on this program in the last hour, and that is, Secretary Mayorkas was there to see the horses. So why, in fact, wasn't it a problem just a few days ago? These border agents have been doing their job for months since the president flipped the switch, and before then, when it was not as bad by far as it is now. This has been a problem. Leslie.
Well, don't faint, David. I'm going to agree with you. The vice president and Joe Biden were not elected for either of them to go on The View. It doesn't help the American people. It helps perhaps the ratings of the viewers. And I have said, you've heard me many times, Harris, on your program, on Outnumbered and other programs, the vice president needs to be getting down to the border. That's what she's been tasked to do as a vice president. And one of the things she needs to do is talk to Mexico, because Mexico did not stop these 13,000 Haitians who came from Brazil all at the same time on commercial buses. I am not a conspiracy theorist, but I definitely think Department of Homeland Security should look into that. I think journalists should be asking that. And the vice president should be holding a press conference talking about what they find in an investigation into that. Now, out of the 13,000, a few hundred are still left that have not been put back. But if she were doing her job better, quite frankly, with Mexico, who clearly is asking for their allowance from the United States, we wouldn't have had those Haitians under that bridge in Texas at the border. And regarding the horses, that was standard operating procedure, not just for Border Patrol, but for other law enforcement officials.
That is true.
With certain terrain they're not able to reach, and they can't go as fast on foot, or they can't go with vehicles. That's something that they did. Obviously, we see that when there are images out there, if the American public sometimes gets outraged, administrations left or right sometimes respond in these manners to stop that. The issue is not to be blamed on any one area. Immigration is and has been a problem at our border for 17 years, and it's a multifaceted problem, and it needs a multifaceted, comprehensive approach to fixing it.
Wow. Leslie, a Democrat, and saying all of that, but also an important member of the panel. I see why you and David are friends. Because you go deep.
I didn't know we were friends.
Yes. You guys are always, I know it. It can get chippy here, but I see how you treat each other. So it's nice to know that you can disagree. All right, but you didn't then. We'll move on to this. We understand, though, just real quickly, that the first question for the vice president on The View was about the pandemic, and now we understand perhaps it will move on to the border. And so we'll keep an eye on that situation. But I do want to just quickly get to this. So the president spoke earlier, David, and we saw him also talking about COVID restrictions, and then he finally took questions. And he had kind of a two-ended thing, speech at the top, speech at the bottom, as he was talking about the economy. The new Pew polling finds that only 34% of Americans right now are confident the president can unify the country, while 66% not so much. I just mentioned a couple of really big issues. Quickly, your thought, and 15 seconds.
You go to the congressional elections next year, there won't be a single moderate Democrat that want the leaders of the Democratic Party, President Biden and Vice President Harris, to come campaign for them because it'll cost them votes.
Wow. Good to see you both. Thank you.